Welcome to another edition of I Am Abel Foundation's Medicine Makers, where if your destination is a career in medicine, we'll show you how to get there. Hi, I'm your host, Kenichi Haynie, and this entire season, the I Am Abel Foundation, the member of the Foxglove Alliance, is devoted to amplifying the voice and presence of Black men in medicine, as Black men represent only 2% of practicing physicians today. Our hope is to inspire the next wave of capable Black male physicians that are so urgently needed in the medical field today. We want to give real-world examples of amazing people fighting on the front lines to make this lofty goal possible. We kicked off our show with founder I Am Abel, Dr. Sweetie Conway, and last week we had a great talk with Darius over at University of Illinois College of Medicine. And this week we have a real treat. I'm so privileged to welcome the one and only Dr. John Hobbs, who is joining us via Zoom today. Thank you so much, Dr. Hobbs. Can you hear us? He can't hear us? All right, can you hear us now? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Hobbs, for joining us. So a little bit about Dr. Hobbs. He completed medical school at the University of Minnesota, practiced at Rush and Northwestern here in Chicago over 30 years, and spent his last 8 years at Little Company of Mary, which is now OSF, for a total practice of 38 years. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yes, but wait, there's more. Dr. Hobbs is also an ordained minister after receiving his Master's of Divinity at the University of Chicago 24 years ago. Wow. Now retired for 1 year. This is fresh. After delivering about 5,000 babies over his career. Trained numerous resident physicians, many of which were African American, who are practicing today all over the country. He is a pioneer in every sense of the word, and a true healthcare advocate. So I told you, impressive, right? Thank you so much, Dr. Hobbs, for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, but anybody that tells you retirement is overrated, they're lying. It's wonderful.
Where are you at currently?
I'm actually in a suburb outside of Atlanta. My family basically is down in this area. I grew up in this area just south of here in Florida. And I've been here now and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So are you down there full time, or is Chicago gone?
Yes,
Are you coming back?
I basically moved down here because I have a new grandbaby and I'm
Oh,
still
wow.
in the
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Also, and just a little side note, Dr. Hobbs holds a special place in my heart because he delivered my brother and me. So I was one of those 5,000 babies, believe it or not. My mother was actually told by many physicians that she could not have children due to her severe endometriosis, that she could never carry a child to term. But Dr. Hobbs gave my parents hope. And she was able to give birth to 2 healthy boys. And I doubt that you remember me, Dr. Hobbs. I guarantee I was a lot different looking the last time you saw me. But yeah. So a little bit more about yourself. Who is when the white coat comes off? Who is John Hobbs?
I've always been one of those type of people that just love to interact with students. As a matter of fact, I've talked to a couple of people here at Emory here in Atlanta, and maybe it's what I may start doing is some work with the residents here because I love teaching. And so basically, my biggest time, I'm not much of a golfer because my former partner used to be an absolute maniac about golf. And he took me out there a few times, and I made him embarrassed, so he no longer let me win out. So
Oh,
I'm not a
wow.
golfer, but I'm an avid reader, and I really absolutely love studying things like historical data and those type of things. So I'm an avid reader and spend a lot of time just having fun and relaxing.
I'm sure you deserve it. But you don't want to take a break. You still want to do more. Yeah. Out here
Well,
want to.
I think the issue that you're raising is really so important to me until I just feel like I still have a little bit to offer. And under circumstances, if I can do it on my time, the hours I want to do it, then I have no problem at least being a counselor and sort of mentoring some of these young people as they're coming along in the medical field, including the OB-GYNs over at Emory.
Yeah. Absolutely, that's amazing. You have so much to share, and I'm sure they have so much to learn as well. So let's talk about a little about your journey. Yeah. So what specifically inspired you to become a doctor, and specifically an obstetrician gynecologist? How'd you end up there?
Kenichi, I grew up in that era, and my age will tell you, is I grew up in that era when the South was really isolated and segregated. So I went to an all-black high school, and fortunately, at that time, I had a chemistry instructor at my school who used to always call me after class and just corner me and say, you know what, you have incredible ability, but you're wasting. You're wasting, oh, wow. You're wasting. He stayed on my case. He kept telling my parents about it. And inevitably, I had to pay more attention in science. And the more I paid attention in science, I really started to enjoy it. I subsequently left there and went to University of Montana. And believe me, you talking about isolated. None of
Montana? Oh, man.
But I started taking science courses. And, as time went on, I got very, very interested in it. And it destroyed my social life. But that was not important to me once I got interested in it. And subsequently, I applied to medical school just hoping that I'd get in toward the end of my senior year at the University of Minnesota. Said, come on down.
All right.
And off I went to the University of Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
Now, you are probably already aware of the fact that you're in medical school. They rotate you through all these services. And my first initial reaction was to be a pediatrician. But I think my encounter with some mothers that you ask the baby what's wrong with them, the baby's crying so much you can't answer the question. I don't want to do this. I can't get any answers. And I rotated through OB-GYN, and it really was fascinating. And that's when I became hooked on it.
Oh, wow. The next best thing, huh? You get them before they start crying, huh?
You got it. You know what? I catch them and give them to you. It's your problem.
Right. That's a nice little setup. And I know that in that field, definitely, you have to be one of the first, especially African-American males. You talk about you practicing so long here in Chicago. You look around today, I'm sure you're aware more than me, there's not that many of us. That's talking about now. So you talk about 38 years ago. I have no idea what that looked like. And I have no idea how you made it through that. I commend you for doing so. But can you share a little bit about that, what that was like?
Yeah. Well, it helped that I had in my hometown of Tallahassee, Florida, we only had one caretaker there, an African-American male who was a physician, but he was so warm and encouraging until I made up in my mind that going back home maybe to practice medicine or something would alleviate some of the real significant disparities of health we had in our neighborhood. So inevitably, it became down to the point where I got interested in the field and just decided, this is what I want to do. And, I think what happens so often is we encourage our young black males to look at sports so much that hopefully get a contract, get multi-million-dollar, the whole works. But we never tell them about things like STEM, the programs like STEM and all those type of things that they have great capabilities of. But I was encouraged a few years back when I don't know whether you know of his name, but his name is Myron Roll. Myron was a defensive back for the Florida State Seminoles during their championship years, really. And Myron was an All-American.
Oh, man. Are we frozen? Oh, I think the connection. Oh man, we're gonna try to get Dr. Hobbs back on here. Just give us 1 second. We apologize about the delay. Oh man. So we'll try to get Dr. Oh, there he is. He's back. Hey, hold up. We lost you there for a second. I don't know if you could track back. You hear me now? Okay, awesome. So could you go back just maybe 30 seconds or so?
Myron Roll was an All-American in Florida State as a defensive back, and subsequently he got a Rhodes Scholar.
Oh, wow.
He went on to he studied at Oxford, and now today at 35 years of age, he's a neurosurgical resident at Mass General in Boston.
Oh, wow.
And he has a wonderful book out that I love for a lot of our young African-American males to read. It's by Myron Roll, R-O-L-L-E, and it's called The 2% Way, and it is phenomenal. He tells you the journey where you can, if you're interested in athletics, you can still accomplish great things in life.
Absolutely. You don't have to just pick one. You can do both, right? But I think you bring a excellent point talking about, our role in encouraging the youth, that the field of medicine is a wonderful opportunity as well. It doesn't just have to be, football, baseball, basketball, and we push our youth hard in those, absolutely, we're
And
taking
our youth should be aware of the fact that when these athletes get injured, they may very well take care of them. So that's a wonderful place to be, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so can you talk about a little bit how things have changed over the years? I know, like in your 38 years of practice, I'm sure it looks different today than it does 38 years ago, or does it? Is it the same? Is it?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but it appears to be getting worse because of the disparity.
Oh, wow.
We have the tremendous concern that obviously the African American community is always hesitant about medical breakthroughs and research, mainly because of things like the Tuskegee study. But because of that, a number of African Americans are in the mid-income to poverty level. And under those circumstances, health care is not available to them as it should be. And in OB-GYN, I think I really learned a hard lesson with that because of the number of patients who had complications galore as pregnant mamas because of poor health care. And so under the circumstances, and I emphasize to young African American residents now in OB-GYN, it's not always finances, because if you look at the story of Serena Williams almost died in childbirth.
Oh, wow.
Multi-millionaire, great reputation, known all over the world as greatest tennis player ever, and she almost died in childbirth. So it's not just a financial thing, it's just a matter that you gotta have good care, and unfortunately, the disparity is getting wider but fortunately, there's some in the Congress now who are trying to make some reparations and make some equality by putting funding in so that in our community we can have good health care.
Oh, wow.
But you know what? It doesn't do us any good if they put the money in there and our young African American males don't get out there. This is not to knock the females. Thank God for them, because I have a number of daughters in OB-GYN that I've trained over the years, and they all call me daddy.
Oh.
We need to have some young African American males, because remember, African American males are the head of our communities.
Yes.
And it's not just political things like healthcare is very important also.
Wow, absolutely. And that disparity right there, in our curriculum, we haven't yet touched on it. I'm hoping we haven't done the, that our endocrine and reproduction section yet, but I'm hoping we do delve into that, because I understand that statistically speaking, the U.S. is not necessarily the best place to have a child as far as going through the birthing process. But specifically, when you talk about the disparities seen in African American women in maternity, and you talk about infant mortality, all of these things that I'm sure that you've seen firsthand over the years are plaguing our communities disproportionately to our counterparts. And we thank you for definitely being on the front lines of that and helping so many people, like you helped my mother, and so many mothers. You talk about 5,000 babies. Now that's a career, and something that I hope you're definitely proud of. But yeah, what can we do about it? I find myself, I hear about these disparities. I get so frustrated sometimes, and it's like, this has to be a secret. There's no way that people know some of these things, because
I think I think the first thing we got to do is realize that people of color are more likely to respond to a doctor's instructions if they're getting instructions from someone of the same hue.
Absolutely.
When they get instructions, even if they go to the other neighborhoods and get care there, they're less likely to follow directions if the person who gave them the directions, because there's just that unsettled feeling and anxiety about medical research on our folks in the past. So that's why it's so important for our young Black males and our young Black females to not be frightened of the fact that, it looks like it's too hard. I don't want to put that many years in. They say it's going to be hard to get through. There's racism. There's racism in everything.
Yes.
But what we have to do is get our young, energetic Black kids to go into these medical schools, get in there, and know it's going to be rough for 4 years, but it ain't no rougher for you than for the person sitting next to you.
That's right.
You get the same exam,
That's
you get
right.
the same instructors, you got the same hours, you got the same workload. So get in there, because what you're doing is for the future, and our future is really incumbent upon us in our community having good health.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You talk about that relatability. That is so important, because, you know, at the end of the day, you have a relationship with your doctor. You know, there's a layer of trust, and to feel comfortable in that setting is so important. And
I'll just give you one example that I was talking to a young student about a few months ago. In my practice, I over the years been absolutely blown away about the instinct of a mother. In other words, I could have a patient in the hospital who is in labor, and it is really wearing her out, and she's in pain, she's screaming, she's climbing out of bed and everything else. But if a doctor tell them you got to settle down, and they don't do it, and that doctor's of another hue, I could walk in the room, look at that patient, say, look at me, and say, your baby's in trouble. We got to get baby out. You got to help me. And the response they would have is, I don't care how bad they're in pain. That maternal instinct kicks in, because they trust me in what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden they'll grit their teeth and hang in there as much, and all they want is save my baby. That's what I'm talking about, where there's a connection.
Oh wow. That's it's like it's an instinct, definitely. You know, something that's tapped into, and you know, you can get through with that layer of trust. You know, that automatic something that, you know, I'm sure you're in a room of faces you've never seen before. You don't recognize. You're in pain, and you were that rock for them right there. In that moment. You know, that's awesome. And I'm sure you did that for so many women over the years, and it's just amazing to see the totality of it. You know.
Yeah.
Do you ever?
And that's why it's so important that we got to have some of us.
I know.
Because that's who, you know. As I kid people all the time, I'm a whole lot better walking into a doctor's office who's going to take care of me, who is a medical person. But when
there goes the connection again. We'll try to get him back, but in the meantime, yeah. So we're talking about all of the disparities in medicine. We're talking about his personal experience, you know, talking from the OB-GYN perspective. You know, this is the disparity right in his face for 38 years, seeing all of this. And we're so happy to have him. Hopefully we can get him back in a second. Probably have to restart this, but thank y'all for bearing with us.
Recording in progress.
There he is. Let's get unmuted.
Recording
Just
stopped.
1 second. All right. Sorry about that, Dr. Hobbs. You know, that's how you know you got some good stuff to say when all these obstacles and stuff pop in. But yeah, I don't remember where we were.
Oh, we were just talking about the abilities for, as I said, from my personal, when I moved to Atlanta and needed to get a doctor, I am a medical person myself, but to walk into a doctor's office and see a person that looked like me that's going to take care of me, even though they're younger, I said, do whatever you got to do, man. Because there's that comfort zone I had with them. And the fortunate thing is that doctor I met, the young doctor, he had great personality. And, you know, he had a humility about himself because he knew how we could interact and he knew how he could get my trust. And you know what? He got it right away. That's why we need our young black kids to go to medical school, come out here and come and take care of our people. Because if we don't take care of them, nobody does.
Can you ask your guest to turn on some lighting?
That's so right. They're asking us to turn on. Do you have a little bit more lighting in there by chance?
How about that?
Oh, perfect. We can see you perfectly now. Yeah, thank you so much. Definitely seeing that kinfolk and that skin folk, you know, that relatability. Let me ask you a question about the reverse. Have you ever walked into the room and, you know, because that person may be of the opposite skin color or so, that there was a level of distrust in the room?
Yeah, Matter of fact, I encountered that even down here.
Oh, wow.
I went to see a specialist about a medical problem I've been following for years, nothing deadly to the health. But immediately, the first thing was, didn't know I was a physician, but immediately started offering all these various type of procedures you could do. And then when he realized I was a physician, because I questioned him about it and I explained to him some of the options I had, all of a sudden there was how did you know about that? And I told him I was a physician, and it blew him off the rocker.
Oh, wow.
Blew him off the rocker.
He had no idea.
Whereas, tell you that when I went in to see this young African American to take care of me, he didn't even ask me, what do you do in life? He just worked with it, and at the end of it, he said, okay, let's go over everything again. And I was totally blown away and really thrilled, because it made me feel so great that he knew relate to me in a certain way. But the other side was more, well, let's do this. And I think the mere fact of not knowing I was a physician played into it more.
Oh, wow.
Black, older, don't know nothing. And that's where we get in trouble.
Oh, wow. It's an automatic assumption. And you talk about how many people you've mentored over the year. How did you get through? Who did you look to?
And there was a gentleman at University of Minnesota, Cassius Clay Ellis, if you believe the name.
Cassius Clay.
And he took a liking to me and 3 other African American young docs who were coming on staff, coming to the University of Minnesota as a medical student, and he was more than gracious to take us to his office, to take us out to lunch, to tell us, pick up the phone and call me if you ever got a problem. And if he didn't hear from us in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, he'd call back and say, hey, just give it a 411, everything cool? And that was the type of thing that got us through, but I admired the way he carried himself, even when you could see evidence of racism against him in hospital settings. But he was cool enough to say, I got a purpose, I'm not gonna let this stuff distract me. And he taught us how to do that.
Wow. You need somebody,
Yes.
because like you talked about, it's hard. It's hard. I just dipped my big toe up in the, in the medical community. I got quite a ways to go. But it's amazing having people like yourself and other mentors to look up to, a roadmap, I recognize that there's not necessarily that many of us, but I'm not the first, And
I have this one of those story I was telling about with Myron Roll, the young brother who played football at Florida State. It was so wonderful to hear him say in his book that his mentor was Ben Carson.
Oh, wow.
Remember, Ben Carson was the chief of neurosurgery at Massachusetts General. You don't get no brothers.
I know.
Because remember, Ben is about almost as old as I am. We go way back.
Really?
And Roll said that's one of the reasons why he stopped focusing so much on football when he got the Rhodes Scholar, because in conversation with Ben Carson said, take that and then work with football later. And on the circuit, and what happens? He comes out, he goes to medical school, he's now in training, but he's in training to be what? A neurosurgeon. How about that?
Wow. Would you look at that? Interestingly enough, I read Gifted Hands as a child. My mother had the book, and I remember doing some kind of school project on it, and amazingly inspiring. And then I remember the movie that came out, but yeah, one of the first, definitely. And to reach that height, in his career, is amazing. Things that you haven't seen before, being held, especially by an African-American male in a white coat,
Yeah, and actually he created some procedures that had never been done on young babies and young children that got them through that was remarkable work. I mean, his volume of literature of things he discovered and perfected, incredible, absolutely incredible.
Oh, wow. It's these pioneers like this, like people before us that make me know that it's possible,
Mm-hmm.
So when I go out there and do it, it'll be like, oh, someone's done this before.
And then, as my mother always said, as you go in, turn around and just grab a hand.
Absolutely. And that's
don't slap it. Grab a hand. Pull it with you.
A lot of people like to slap the hand, don't they?
That's right. That's exactly right.
But I think that's so important to know, especially that for as hard as it was for the first person to go through the path, you can reach back and make it even a little bit easier, to help that next person I hope to be doing the same thing, I'm passionate about it as well. I haven't gotten necessarily that far, but there's people behind me still. And having the opportunity to mentor them, to give back as people have poured into me, it's only right to pass that on to help the next wave, the next generation of capable Black doctors, minority doctors. It doesn't matter who it is, people who are going to change the world.
And let's face it, the biggest time of change for someone going into medicine that first year, because if the first year defeats you, you quit. You, though, are already an example to those first years coming in who say, this is tough, it's hard. You can turn around and say, hey, you can do it.
You can do it.
They can look at you and say, he's talking from authority. He makes a difference. So your mentoring starts very, very early, whether you know it or not.
Starts now, definitely. And so we're getting near the end of our time, Dr. Hobbs. We just got one final question for you. And it's the question that we ask everybody. But that last thing, what would you say to that young Black male who's, maybe watching this at home, may see it later, but what would you say to them to encourage them about this goal, this dream to become a doctor?
Never accept no, and stay away from negative people. Make up your mind that you're gonna do it and get it, all the negative people, and you have to understand that some of your friends
who
you
talk about it
every day will be negative. You gotta get them out of your life or put earplugs in your ear.
Oh man, I think we lost them. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get them back, but thank you so much to Dr. Hobbs for joining us today. It was amazing to hear. I already know he had some fire gems to drop on us this last second, but thank you to you at home, to Dr. Hobbs who was with us. This has been another episode of I Am Abel's Medicine Makers on Black Men in Medicine. I am your host, Kenichi Haynie, and it's definitely been a pleasure. Actually, we got Dr. Hobbs here right now. Maybe we can have him come on just really quickly. Hey, Dr. Hobbs, we got you back. Go ahead and finish up what you had to say.
I tell them, remember, the people who keep our community right with responsibility is the African American male. Now, that does not discredit the contribution of the female, but who is the hallmark of the community? The Black male. And therefore, you got it in you, so let it out. You can do it, and get all the negative people out of your life, and shoot. Don't shoot for if you shoot for the moon and don't get it, you're gonna get a star.
Absolutely, I love that.
Stars too.
I love that. I might have to steal that, but thank you so much, Dr. Hobbs, for joining us. Thank you, everyone. We invite you to please share our live streaming link on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@iamable.org. You see the spelling there on the screen. Thank you all so very much for joining, and enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you so much, Dr. Hobbs.
My pleasure. Take care.